Welcome to Decentralized News. I am your host, Pyro the Breeze, joined as always by my co-host, Ozzy6869. If you're interested in Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and DeFi, and the macro news that affects it, welcome in. This is not financial advice. Please do your own research. Now let's get started with some of the biggest headlines. Before we get into the regulation news that's been affecting the market, let's touch on the other kind of market mover going on right now. The CPI inflation numbers are due to come out tomorrow. We're recording this on Monday, on Tuesday, 2/14. What do you see with the expectations coming in with that?
Expectations are to see PCI core inflation increase this month about 0.5% or between 0.4 and 0.5%, depending on where you look. This is very counter trend to everything that's been going on. We've been seeing a CPI below expectation for the last several months. And in general, we're expecting that to be the case again. The forecasts are way higher than the reality. And so we're expecting to see a pullback again from PCI inflation, although expectations are the opposite. So it could lead to a very violent upwards motion if we're below expectations, and we'll have some pretty significant impacts on the dollar if it continues this way.
Yeah, I noticed Jay Powell in the last couple of times he spoke used the word disinflationary over and over. If it's ticking up, as it seems to go against what he's saying about it being disinflationary.
Yeah, that would be counter trend, but every month so far has been expecting an increase in inflation, and it hasn't happened. So
Mm,
we're hoping to see that continue on trend. If it weren't, then it would be pretty devastating for the market as a whole, because the market would, as much as the stock market is saying it's expecting it to be up, a lot of people are expecting inflation to continue downwards.
right. Because of all the interest rates and then trying to predict what's going to happen. It seems there's some consensus that they're going to raise it another 0.25% in the next one, but it's a bit unknown where the terminal rate is and when they'll stop, if they'll raise it again after that.
Yeah, it's pretty certain right now that or key interest rates are gonna be up another quarter basis point in at the next meeting, but it's May that's really confusing. People are very uncertain whether May is gonna be an up month or a stable month. See from there.
This is just another, CPI information is just another indicator to help us gauge what's going on. Beyond that, there's been a lot of movement from the US government. The SEC is the US government in general seems to be shaking the market right now.
The
There are,
SEC has not been the market's friend. Let's just say that.
yeah, Kraken, one of the story came out earlier this week. Kraken agreed to shutter US crypto staking operations to settle SEC charges.
Yeah, so all of those kind of one-sided staking offerings that you'll see on a lot of centralized exchanges. Gemini got in trouble for this a couple months back when they were still going through their bankruptcy issues. All of those services were considered securities, and the SEC has said they should be banned because there's not enough information about the risk and type of investment that it's doing. And so basically people have been getting shuttered for that.
Yeah, it started with a Brian Armstrong tweet. So I'm hearing rumors, and then it was, oh, Kraken shutting the staking. And then they also offer a crypto lending product, and that is also expected to be shut down under the settlement. I think they paid a fine as well.
Yes, they did. They paid a fine, not as big as Gemini or what we've seen around Coinbase, but they still paid a $30 million fine in the end. So it's,
Story continued through the week, and on the 9th, New York regulators became aware that New York regulators launched an investigation into BUSD stablecoin issuer Paxos, the New York Department of Financial Services, and they're registered. They hold a virtual currency license that they were investigating. And then the day after that, PayPal suspends their crypto stablecoin development because one of the key partners was Paxos. So they were about to launch a stablecoin because of that. And then a couple of days later, Paxos to stop minting BUSD. So this is just yesterday. It's all moving pretty fast.
moving very fast.
Yeah. So Paxos to stop minting BUSD stablecoins. And it's okay. Now what's happening with BUSD? And There's questions about whether stable coins are a security under the Howey test, because where's the expectation of profit in a stable coin? But either way, Paxos stopped minting BUSD. And then what does that mean? CZ has responded with a tweet, but basically saying the market share is going to go down. But you can still withdraw your BUSD and trade it. But yeah, it's interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it'll stop new BUSD from being minted, but it doesn't necessarily stop BUSD from being redeemed. So, important thing to keep in consideration, but the market has hated all of this news. Bitcoin was at 24,000 when the SEC went on their whole friggin' reign of terror, and it's sitting at 21,450 at the moment of recording, and it's already tested that line 3 times, which that's never a good sign. Means it'll likely break down from here, targeting the 20,700 range that's been support in the past. So
Yeah, if it breaks through that, who knows?
we could go retest that bottom. It would not be far from a good old Head and Shoulders.
Yeah, with the CPI numbers coming out tomorrow, there certainly is a lot of action, a lot of volatility in the market right now.
Yeah, that's it. This is the perfect time to see that one of those kind of cataclysmic kind of events happen and see CPI data come out above expectation, and all of a sudden crapperoni in the market, huge Head and Shoulders, and Bitcoin goes over time, probably not overnight, but goes test the lows again. So watch
Well,
out.
you brought up an interesting point, like all this action that may have something to do with US preparing to launch its own stablecoin.
I think the action against Paxos and USDP and BUSD is a huge move into the US making a CBDC in their own stablecoin, or potentially just trying to protect Coinbases. Who knows? USDC and coin and the US government collaborating.
Put a halt to the PayPal one launching, and they're huge. It had a lot of potential anyway, right? And all of a sudden, that's not happening with all this. I mean, I think that supports your narrative.
So it's interesting, and like with the action against Tether earlier in the year by the New York regulators, just speaks to the narrative of, especially if Coinbase had early knowledge about what was going on with Paxos, then rubs me the wrong way, to say the least.
Yeah, I did notice a tweet just as we were preparing for the show, money rolling over into Tether out of, I think, both USDC and the Binance stablecoin. Like,
BUSD.
but yeah, money rolling over into getting offshore into Tether, which is an offshore stable.
Yeah,
Like they're pushing
possible.
it out a little bit too.
The New York regulators have been testing their own CBDC for a while now. So
That's true. I forgot about that. We covered that story a little, like a month. That was a month or two ago. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
I forgot about
that's it's something to consider. And I mean, it's even worse is that we're looking at, what if the US is prepping to let banks take over crypto? It's Lotto, Kraken, Gemini. What if they're setting up to basically BNY Mellon, one of the bigger banks in the US right now, take over cryptocurrency? Be the ones that manage cryptocurrency so that the banks don't need to be bailed out.
Like,
BNY Mellon said that cryptocurrency is here to stay. So is the SEC here to really protect the investors? Or are they looking to help protect some other industries and prop them up?
yeah, it seems like the larger banks in the long term are preparing on ramps and preparing to get involved more than we're going to shut this all down and reestablish the US dollar type of mentality. And
Yeah.
their clients calling for it still.
Yeah. BNY Mellon said in a survey in October, 91% of their clients were interested in investing, and that 86% of institutional players are looking a buy and hold strategy with BNY Mellon starting to offer Bitcoin and Ethereum investing to select institutional clients.
And
This seems like a
even
strategic move.
even with all this regulation, I don't know. I mean, my perspective a little bit. It seems like it makes Bitcoin look more attractive, and people that have investable money may want Bitcoin even more.
Yeah, that's it. We'll see. It could present a good buying opportunity, but it's definitely terrifying the market right now because who knows
Yeah,
what
yeah.
else is going to drop? What other news are they going to come out and say, oh, this is banned, that's banned, or whatever?
Staying on CBDCs, the Bank of England moves closer to launching an official digital currency. An interesting part of this report also is 11 countries have launched digital currencies, their own digital currencies, and the U.S. Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank considering their own as well.
These and centralized stablecoins are looking more and more like reality. The interesting thing about the Bank of England CBDC is a potential holding limit of between $10,000 and $20,000 per person for its digital pound.
Yeah,
Why
it's
limit people's wealth? Are you
yeah,
trying to force them to invest it all, or
end
are
it
you
right
s-
away.
yeah, are you trying to force spending? Either
Well,
way, weird.
fiat's scary to save anyway because of inflation, but when it does remind that this is possible with CBDCs, they can put these limits because it's centralized like that. But when I read the story, it was a little bit, the way they were framing it is, oh, just to start, this is what we're going to do just to make sure it's all working before we open it up completely. So at least they were talking like that a little bit.
They England has had a more open stance to crypto, especially with their new prime minister. So that's a big possibility. But this kind of limits talk and these moves by the Fed, by the SEC and the Fed, just they concern me for crypto and just the actions of the government right now.
On the other side of that, the states are, there's been some recent movement with laws passed to protect Bitcoin mining. In particular, Montana passes a bill to protect Bitcoin and crypto mining rights. And several other states are considering similar bills: Oklahoma, Mississippi, Missouri, name a few.
Well, that's good news. I like seeing that these states are really moving in that direction. It would make a lot of sense. And Bitcoin is the future. Stop going against crypto, Gary Gensler. No one cares
Yeah.
that you're a dinosaur and cash is the only thing. Cash is king. No one cares. Bitcoin's the future. The states realize it. Everyone else realizes it. Get on board.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess some of the interesting that I noticed about it is it's, specific to Bitcoin mining. And also there's seems to be, at least in the United States, in terms of like kind of Democrats versus Republicans, that Republicans seem to be a little bit more friendly to crypto. And just watching that, because it's kind of like, oh, how's this going to form? It's going to become more political. But how's it going to form along party lines? It does seem to be forming a little bit like that. I don't know if you notice that.
I've noticed it a little bit. It does seem like the Republicans are pushing it a little bit more, but I'm hoping it doesn't become party lines.
Yeah.
I think crypto should be a universal thing because crypto is for everybody. Why?
Yeah. I am not looking forward to it becoming political or being divided along political lines. It's just, yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah,
We can look at some examples of what some other countries are doing. I thought this story was very interesting, but Russia has a massive new crypto mining facility that will open in the summer, but it's going to be subsidized. It's kind of state supported crypto mining. It's set to open in the first half of 2023. It's a $12.3 million facility with 30,000 miners. It gets support from the Corporation for the Development of the Far East and the Arctic, but it has government support tools, zero land and property taxes, insurance premiums. It also, with the electricity that it'll get from the power grid, the tariffs will be cut in half, basically subsidize Bitcoin mining. And I'm just, I couldn't help but imagine the Cold War of Bitcoin mining between countries.
interesting. I think it's a weird combination. Um, does it mean Russia's very big on Bitcoin and they want to accumulate it? Could be. They've
I
been
read a take. It was just a take that I read on Twitter. Do your own research, but that the most cost effective way to get Bitcoin going into the future will be through mining. Like I said, do your own research. I have
yeah, it definitely it depends on electricity rates and a whole bunch of other things over wherever you
but if
are. But
that's true, and a story like this, putting those together a little bit.
yeah. So pretty interesting, I'll say the least. So
Yeah, I was really intrigued by that story. China is also in the news, despite ongoing crackdowns on crypto. They're going to launch a national blockchain research center. The center will create a research network with local universities, think tanks, and blockchain business to explore core blockchain technologies. It's run by the Beijing Academy of Blockchain and Edge Computing, which developed the Chainmaker blockchain,
okay.
the Chang'an chain. The blockchain is already backed by an ecosystem of 50 business corporations, most state owned. But yeah, it's like they want control, and they've been pretty harsh about it. But at the same time, they're embracing it. On the other hand,
It goes alongside it goes along the story that was saying that Bitcoin and crypto was coming back to China and how there was more trading volume on OKX, a whole bunch of other stories that basically said, "Hey, China's getting back into crypto." And this would be indicative of that. I'm bullish. That sounds pretty good
yeah,
for
they banned all the mining, but maybe I can imagine a story where they reopen it, but it's more state controlled.
yeah, exactly.
Seems like something they might be interested in if it's in their own interest. They could pivot into Bitcoin mining, possibly.
Yeah, London has definitely been pivoting, and the UK have definitely been pivoting to crypto-friendly city and crypto-friendly country. London is currently ranked the top crypto-ready city in all of the world, with the total number of crypto-specific events, crypto-related jobs, crypto companies, crypto ATMs, and so London is the hub right now, and it's where it's
I
all
was
happening.
I was surprised they beat out Dubai. It was number 2. It seems like I hear more about Dubai than I do London. So it was interesting.
There's a lot of developers out of London and out of the UK, so that doesn't surprise me. At least probably more reported jobs in the UK, whereas maybe in Dubai they're not all reported, or a lot of people are doing it more under the.
See, it's not all bad news. Even there's a story out of Brazil. Banco de Brazil, one of the largest, oldest banks in Brazil, or I think it is the oldest, is now possible for Brazilian taxpayers to pay their tax bill with crypto in a joint initiative with Brazilian-based crypto firm BitFi. And besides the convenience it brings to customers for selling tax bills, it could expand the use and access of the whole digital asset ecosystem with national kind of institutional coverage.
Yeah, the US, you should be thinking like this. Stop thinking like Gary Gensler, because Brazil, London, everywhere is seeing the use cases and why crypto should be adopted, and they're adopting it. So get on board.
Speaking of use cases, there's our friend El Salvador, Bitcoin's friend. The IMF recently went in and they submitted a report. And part of the report, there was a quote in there that the Bitcoin risks have not materialized. They've normally been very critical, and they were still critical. This quote is getting highlighted a lot, but when you read the report, it's not as glowing as that. But it does say that, but the Bitcoin risks have not materialized. But it's such a low volume, it doesn't really matter. And they did warn about the volcano bond token and how risky that was. They seem to do that more.
Yeah. No, that's it. It's the IMF is looks to control developing countries, which is why it with US dollars. That's basically what they like to do. They like to handcuff them and straddle them with debt like every other country. And so El Salvador's actions are counter to that. And the fact that they're saying that these risks have not materialized is proof. Yeah, Bitcoin is better than fiat. And you've turned me into a little bit of a Bitcoin maxi lately.
Oh, everyone sees the light eventually. But But there are a lot of benefits to the more decentralized nature of Bitcoin. Anyway, yeah, it's just a little one less liability to worry about, one less centralized type of thing to worry about. One of the other interesting things about this story was the fact that with the volcano bonds they're warning against, they were going to be paying their sovereign debt with it. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the years. Are
Yeah.
they able to pay off debt through Bitcoin? And like when I hear that, I think, will they be able to actually free themselves and pay off all their debt and kind of be on their own and issuing their own bonds? I don't know. Yeah, just watching how that plays is pretty interesting to me.
It's very interesting to me, and that's why IMF doesn't want them to do it, because they know that it'll free them from the trappings of the IMF and
And
the
only
world debt
encourage
system.
yeah, and only encourage others to if it's successful.
Exactly. Help others break free. Very interesting. Shopify, which is Canadian, is launching their own suite of blockchain commerce tools for merchants, which is awesome. You
Yeah,
can
it's
now
cool.
use crypto to gain access to certain products and exclusive benefits, and you can now sign in with Ethereum through Ethereum. So starting with Ethereum might grow further from there, and they can use token gating tools to dictate what certain token holders can access to and what can't get access to. So this is a huge new step for
Yeah.
crypto.
Yeah, I like the use case of the NFT as a token gate, it, the utility of the NFT, and there's a lot of freedom for what the different merchants want to do and what that utility will be. Yeah, it's interesting combination of NFTs and tokens.
Yeah.
With a Shopify, there's so many creative merchants on that, and what they'll do with it will be interesting to watch.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see.
And speaking of the NFTs, we reported last week kind of NFTs had a good month. That did continue in the first week, although who knows next week's going to look. NFT sales continue their strong performance and rose 18.43% in the week, led by Ethereum again. However, there was a number in here that maybe shows some signs of weakness. The number of NFT buyers declined, but overall sales were higher. And
Y-
Ethereum and Solana it was Ethereum that was first, and Solana was second in terms of volume, and Immutable X, Polygon, and Cardano were also up there. So
Interesting.
just in terms of seeing who are the top players in the NFT space, Immutable X, though,
They've been making some big strides, so I'm very intrigued to see what happens with them and their game and everything else. I think they're really positioning themselves to be a big player in this next bull market.
they're trying to launch, and that's tough. They're doing a good job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job.
The bear market still hasn't stopped claiming victims. Bitcoin exchange local Bitcoin to close, citing market conditions. Trading will be suspended February 16th, after which users will be able to log in only to withdraw their crypto. So it's not a race. If you have funds in there, it sounds like, do your own research. But and the exchange had a 10-year run, so a little bit of a sad day.
Yeah.
I never used them, but it was a peer-to-peer local. Seemed like a good alternative to have. So it's sad to see it going.
Yeah. But it wasn't getting a lot of volume. It was only doing between 5 million and 7 million a week. If you look at other exchanges, they're doing that in an hour. So it's all right. It
Seems
happened.
like his day had passed, but it's still nice to have alternative and just peer-to-peer type of alternative. It's sad to see it go, but I guess you can always do peer-to-peer, especially with
Yeah.
it'll always find a way if it's needed, like all exchanges shut down or something. This was an interesting story, I thought too, but a little bit of a sign of the bear market. The Super Bowl bans cryptocurrency television commercials this year, which is in sharp contrast to last year, which was called the Crypto Bowl because of all the ads. There were 4 deals that were done or at the 1-yard line that fell apart because of the FTX collapse. So, as you see this, did you watch the Super Bowl?
I
There we
didn't watch
go.
the Super Bowl. I'm not a big football guy. I watch the halftime show, and that's about it. My brother watches the Super Bowl, and so does my father, but not me. But
That's funny. Like I have not been watching a lot of football, but I do like football. But I watched the game, and the only thing I didn't watch was the halftime show.
I'm a big
Um,
music and performance guy, so that always interests me. The difference in spend, other than the fact that they're banned, it makes sense. It wasn't a great year for crypto financially, so they can't afford to spend millions of dollar, almost like half $1,000,000 on ads. I think we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I know you're a young man, but I don't know if you were around for the dot-com bubble.
I was alive but not cognizant, so
Pretty young. So, like, in from 95 to '01, there was just all these it's almost like meme stocks, right? There's just anything that was it was like the meta. If it had a dot com, it was blowing up on the stock market, and there have been comparisons made to the 2000 dot-com bull, which marked the end of the 95 to '01 dot-com bubble, and then it was after that kind of the main internet companies came out. So, just comparing that to this crypto bull and how it's a sign of the bear market. I don't know. Have you
I haven't heard that, but I think it makes sense based on the actions of the SEC, FTX, and everything. I think, yeah, I'm starting to distill down the players. The SEC is definitely trying to make sure we are. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly what's happening. The bubble of all crypto things are going crazy, and we're getting distilled into what's the cream of the crop, what's going to be happening. I think that's totally reasonable and an
will go
explanation.
away, but like you said, it's just getting distilled down to what's gonna be left and, yeah, how to maneuver right now if you're in the markets.
Yeah, exactly.
So, with the winners.
That's it. Try to bet on the winners and avoid the losers as much as you can.
Speaking of someone who's been, I don't wanna call them a loser, but they've been taking hits, DCG started selling stakes in Grayscale Trust. The digital currency group has started selling holdings in several investment vehicles run by its digital assets manager, Grayscale, at discount. And I guess they've been selling more of the Ethereum fund than the Bitcoin one. This is, I think, due to an agreement to deal with the Gemini hole. So the company is selling at about $8 a share, their ETH, like the GBDC version of ETH.
Is worth 16. So half.
ETH. Oh, yeah.
To be clear, this isn't just for anyone listening. It doesn't mean that ETH or Bitcoin's being dumped on the market. DCG owned a share of the funds that were in the Grayscale Trust. And so they're selling a share of what their share was in that fund to other people at a discount.
Yeah,
So
the law.
they're selling it at a loss to help fill the
But they're
hole.
selling shares, not the ETH, and you just wanna make
Yeah.
that very
Yeah. So that's like what we're seeing on the charts according like in Bitcoin price and stuff like that. That's not from DCG, that's from the SEC. That's from all of that and the fact that we rose so dramatically through all of January. It's not DCG is not dumping the market.
all right, now we can get into some coin and chain news. Tether, which seems to be gaining prominence right now just because of, like I mentioned earlier, money rotating into it. But USDT's entity Tether profited 700 million in quarter four in 2022. Tether has an attestation report prepared by international accounting firm BDO. At the height of the bear market in 2020, Tether survived a mini bank run that processed around 10 billion in withdrawals over 2 weeks. They're showing profits. They've survived a bank run. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. I never really heard of this attestation report, but I guess it's prepared regularly.
Oh, it's good news. Tether is
Yeah, it's kind
showing.
of in line with what we were talking about last week with the profits, because the 700 million per quarter, it comes out to about 3 billion a year.
Yeah, 21, 2.1 billion, so, somewhere
Yeah,
around
getting up
there. So,
28, yeah, getting up towards there.
yeah, so, yeah, it makes sense. Good for Tether. It shows that they're viable and they're not actually going down the hole. So, we'll see. We'll see what that means in the future. Big old SEC seems to be putting a shit sandwich on everything. So hopefully,
Like are going after the offshore ones next or something,
yeah.
limit their ability to interact with US customers somehow.
Yeah, that being said,
Uh,
Binance has suspended their USD bank deposits and withdrawals while resolving an administrative issue. So this was 5 days ago on the 8th. There
yeah.
was no clear timeline of why, or no reasoning between why this was
And they
banned or was unfunctional.
and they also downplayed it in the announcement too. It only affects 0.01% of the users, but it's USD. Sounds like a big deal to me.
But if it's Binance Global isn't supposed to have US based customers. So
Yeah.
it really shouldn't be a big deal, but as a Canadian business, you could deposit in USD to buy as an institution. So
Hmm.
there are some impacts.
I
It's
also found the
interesting.
timing. Yeah, that's timing interesting just because this week there was so much. It's like no reason was given, but behind the scenes, clearly there's a lot of action being taken by SEC and government regulators. Has to do with USD. So maybe something going on behind the scenes there.
Well,
Just speculating.
I think you're totally right. I think maybe Paxos and Binance kind of had a heads up, and they're like,
Yeah,
we
how's it not connect?
can't, we know this is coming, this announcement's coming this date. By this date, we're not going to have enough time to properly process these transactions before we get in trouble. So we need to pause them now, because otherwise that money's going to be stuck in limbo. And that would be, I don't know why it would affect the withdrawals, but I understand deposits on that side.
Huh, interesting. Despite all this, Binance market share increased to 55% of the world's spot crypto trading in January, 7% gain since the bankruptcy of FTX. Competitors like Coinbase, the largest exchange in the US, grew its spot market share by below 1%, and Kraken and Crypto reported drops in market share. That's interesting news. Update. That's,
Binance is the big guy. They they definitely stood to benefit the most. Coinbase's fees are too high. They've been in trouble. That's why I think the SEC is targeting stablecoins that aren't USDC, help prop up Coinbase. Crypto.com had a bunch of issues with Binance Chain and USDT and USD withdrawals
mm,
last month and 2 months ago. And
yeah, that's
Kraken recently got in trouble, so
good.
makes sense.
Yeah.
What is very interesting is the UK startup Revolut has launched Cardano, Polkadot, and Tezos staking to its 25 million users. So whereas the US is cracking down, no, staking is bad, staking's a
Yeah.
security, the UK is, at least right now, not batting an eye at it. They're
Yeah.
launching new
They're
products. So
at least the startup is willing to try. It's not to say regulators won't come in. It's like, hey, I don't know how different it is over there, but yeah, I mean, you're right. It's counter to the trend in the news this week is very regulation heavy, especially US. Here, the UK is London, top crypto friendly city, and Revolut launching staking for Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, and Tezos. So maybe time to move.
yeah, at least they talked about digital visas for people who want to invest in crypto from foreign jurisdictions in the UK. If you're American, might be time to consider that. And they're also prepping to launch their crypto regulations in the next couple months. So to me, it seems like the UK is in a better spot, and probably a better spot to watch than the US right now. So that being said, I guess the last little quick bit of news is Optimism launched their second airdrop with 11.7 million Optimism tokens being distributed to 300,000 unique addresses to help reward positive sum governance participation. So this is pretty interesting. Optimism going with a second airdrop makes me very excited for that Arbitrum airdrop is got to be coming. So keep interacting. And yeah, that's the last little bit of big DeFi rumors. But
And just to add to that, if the airdrop was distributed to addresses that delegated the voting power of their OP tokens and spent more than $6.10 on layer 2 gas since March 25th, 2022. So hopefully that applies to you. And I guess the other interesting thing, they're going to be airdropping 19% of their tokens.
yeah,
Total Optimism has committed to distributing 19% of the total initial supply. I thought that was the other interesting bit in here. So
yeah. So
there's
fingers
still
crossed.
13.73% of token initial supply remains for future airdrops, I'm reading here. But yeah, your own research. I'm not involved in this, but I thought it was, yeah, interesting news. I know a lot of people are.
Yeah, I'm mainly doing Arbitrum, but I gotta try some for more optimism as well. Couple other kind of tech news. Microsoft integrates ChatGPT into Bing search, the Bing search engine. So that is interesting. Google's stock suffered from the rough launch of their AI chatbot Bard.
Yeah, I guess it gave some false information or something. I don't know. It had a embarrassing moment early on, but it's still
Twitter,
going. We'll see how that plays out in the long run.
yeah, Twitter has expanded their character limit to 4,000, but immediately suffers a major outage, prompting an emergency fix. So, a whole bunch of other tech news, and interesting to see what's to come in the next week. We're going to probably come with some more little short videos like we did this week with some more cool information. So, keep your eyes out, guys.
Yeah, and the heads up, we also have a Twitter. We'll put the link in the show notes, so feel free to subscribe to our Twitter. We send out updates there with news, under the radar news that maybe isn't getting highlighted, more interesting to us maybe. But yeah, thanks for listening to Decentralized News. We post this show first to YouTube, so please consider subscribing to catch the videos as soon as they drop. Our goal is to provide unfiltered content that will help foster genuine discussions to help the entire space grow. Please remember, this is not financial advice. We are not financial advisors. The show is presented for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research before making any investment decisions. And thank you very much for your support, and stay tuned for the next episode.